सलाम नमस्ते सत श्री अकाल आदाब और याली मदद। मैं हूं आपका होस्ट अकबर हिराव और आप देख रहे हैं सलाम नमस्ते कनाडा टीवी प्रोग्राम ऑन चक दे टीवी। दोस्तों, लफ्ज़ इंसान के ग़ुलाम होते हैं उस वक्त तक जब तक वो बोले ना जाएं, और जब आप एक दफ़ा उन्हें कह देते हैं तो फिर इंसान उसका ग़ुलाम बन जाता है। इसके साथ साथ एक और मौला मुर्तज़ा अलैहिस्सलाम का कौल है कि इल्म और दौलत, इसमें से इल्म की फ़जीलत ज़्यादा है, क्योंकि जो आलिम होता है उसके बहुत सारे दोस्त होते हैं और दौलत वाले के बहुत सारे दुश्मन होते हैं। ये मैं आपसे क्यों कह रहा हूँ? ये इस वजह से क्योंकि आज का जो हमारा प्रोग्राम है और जो हमारे स्पेशल गेस्ट आज के इस प्रोग्राम में हमारे साथ शामिल होंगे, उनका ताल्लुक़ एजुकेशन से भी रहा है और साथ ही साथ स्टूडेंट्स से भी बहुत ज़्यादा गहरा ताल्लुक़ है। वैसे तो ये एक एक्स फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टेंट थे ऑयल एंड गैस कंपनी के अंदर, लेकिन अब रिटायर्ड हैं। लेकिन अगर इनके बारे में कहा जाए तो इनकी एक बहुत लंबी सर्विस एजुकेशन और स्टूडेंट्स के लिए वॉलंटरी सर्विस रही है। आज उनसे हम बात करेंगे। उनका नाम है अमीर केशवजी। उनसे बातों का सिलसिला हम शुरू करें उससे पहले मैं अपने को होस्ट सलमा जादव जी और जलाल लाडक को आपसे इंट्रोड्यूस करवाना चाहूँगा। तो कैसी हैं सलमा आपा और जलाल भाई?
बिल्कुल ठीक है। सबसे पहले आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, नमस्ते, याली मदद। कैसे हैं आप लोग? बहुत अच्छा बोला जो भी बोला अकबर ने, और इंशाल्लाह आज आप लोगों को बहुत कुछ जानने को मिलेगा। तो जलाल, कैसे हैं आप?
बस अपना अकबर एंड सलमा आपा, मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ।
देखिए, आप मुझे ना सलमा आपा बुलाना छोड़ दें।
इसलिए
देखिए, इक़्तिदार बोलते हैं, इसरार बोलते हैं और पता नहीं कौन कौन बोलता है।
नहीं, मेरे पास जो सबूत है। नहीं, चलो अपने मेरी तरफ से भी सबको सलाम। और आपका अकबर, सलमा, आपको पता है कि आजकल जो है क्रिसमस की गेमा गेमी है।
बिल्कुल।
तो अभी मैंने जो है फैक्ट मैंने सुना आते आते, इट वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कि आपको अभी जैसे पता है कि पिछले दिनों ब्लैक फ्राइडे की सेल गई, ब्लैक फ्राइडे
जी।
तो उस पर जो सेल की जो रिकॉर्ड हुआ था वो था $15,000 पर जी सेकंड। $15,000 per जो second per second people spend money on the Black Friday। लेकिन हमें तो कुछ भी नहीं मिला, हमें कहीं से कोई गिफ्ट नहीं आया।
लेकिन आप गए थे खरीदने?
नहीं, हमें आना चाहिए गिफ्ट। तो एनीवेज, होपिंग फॉर द बेस्ट।
सो मेरे हिसाब से हम लोग बड़े नाउम्मीद हुए हमारे सराउंड में जो लोग हैं, लेकिन मेरे ख्याल से वो भी यही कहेंगे कि वो भी बड़े नाउम्मीद हुए
क्योंकि उनको भी कुछ नहीं मिला।
बहरहाल हम अपने इस प्रोग्राम को इसी बड़े अच्छे से तंज़ो मज़ा के अंदाज को जो सलमा आपा और जलाल भाई ने शुरू किया, हम थोड़ा आगे बढ़ाते हैं और अमीर केशव जी को अपने इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर खुशामदीद कहते हैं। साथ ही साथ अपने दोस्तों को ये बताते चलूँ कि हमारा जो ये प्रोग्राम होगा वो इंग्लिश में होगा, लेकिन आज का जो प्रोग्राम है स्पेसिफिकली एजुकेशनिस्ट और स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, ख़ास तौर पे स्टूडेंट्स के लिए जो आईवी लीग्स की यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के अंदर अप्लाई करना चाहते हैं, उनके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा कारआमद प्रोग्राम है। सो प्लीज़ लिसन टू हिम केयरफुली। Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Very well this evening. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Sir, if I ask you to begin with, what is your background? Where did you start it? And what is your professional background? And how this all voluntary work started?
Well, I'm a financial consultant by, if you call it, profession. Having worked with the multinational oil and gas companies, oil and gas related companies in Canada. And in the duration of this time, I'm originally from South Africa.
Nice.
So, and I passed through Kenya for a while, and then we finally settled in Canada. And this is our permanent home. When we came here, basically, most of us came to Canada for two major reasons. One is good, sound education for our children and future generations. And the other is healthcare.
Absolutely.
Now, if you look at where we all came from, I'm from South Africa. There was good education, there was wonderful healthcare, but it wasn't for all the people of South Africa.
Right.
So when I arrived in Canada, we first had to settle in, my wife and I. My wife is a nurse. We had to settle in ourselves, and then we started thinking in the tradition of our faith. And I'm talking about the Abrahamic tradition,
Right.
that is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, that according to our faith and our tradition, we have always, all of us, immediately felt that how can we pay back
True.
this
Right.
society for receiving us with open arms,
Right.
giving us generous hospitality,
True.
helping us settle down. And we all struggled, but we settled pretty easily
Right.
compared to any other country that you can think of. Up there.
True. Absolutely.
Settled. And this goes to say that the Canadian population is generous, it's pluralistic, it's tolerant, it's kind, it's compassionate. And my wife and I were always thinking that, you know, once we settle down, and it took time, but we must immediately start paying back.
Back.
Right.
And that was not the basic motivation in the beginning, because my children were growing up, and I had told them that you work hard, and I was a hard-driving father, and I said, I want the best marks, you get the best marks, you choose the universities, universities of your choice, you get there, I'll bring the money.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice to talk,
Yes.
but when time comes, and my children started going to good universities, and I could see in their questioning that we're about getting there, now you need to walk the walk. You said you'll get the financing.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is where the challenge came in. And in that challenge, and I thank Almighty God for this, I thank Allah that this challenge was presented to me, because within that challenge, to answer the call, I had to look for scholarship information, which I did for years. Every day at lunchtime, I went to the public library, Central Main Library, from my work, and I had to get all the scholarship information, but did not realize, now I know, that the battle is not money. The battle is getting the credentials and the academic qualifications
Yep.
to prepare our children to enter the finest universities in the world.
Wow.
Because if you look at it squarely,
Yeah.
Salma, Jalal, if you look at it, money we can get, money
Right.
we can borrow, money we can mortgage our houses, we can sell our jewelry, our assets. But getting into a good school, particularly Ivy League schools, is a major challenge. So in this process of getting funding for my children, I started collecting information on scholarships. And I have about 30 boxes of scholarship information.
Wow.
But
Wow.
what happened to me, vis-a-vis my children, was that every time I got some information and a lot of money, I found that we were either too early, too late, past the deadlines. So eventually, it so happened that we had to bear the entire cost. My children did not get any scholarships from my information. But it's the luck of the draw. It doesn't matter. But once I collected this material and my children now were finishing or were on track at the universities, I had to do something with my information, because I did put
That's
in a
very
lot
true.
of sweat and blood into it. And my wife and I decided, 30 boxes of scholarship information. What am I going to do with it? So it reminds me, my father always used to tell me that if somebody gives you a lovely perfume, you can only enjoy the aroma of the perfume if you spread it.
It's
True.
spread.
So,
Awesome.
That's
so
very
we
true.
Wow.
decided
What
that,
a beautiful saying.
Alhamdulillah. So we decided that we'll give this information to neighbors and their children, to members in the community and their children, members at the prayer places, at the churches, and the community halls. And I just started distributing copies freely to everybody who not only asked for it, I offered to give.
Oh, nice.
I would go and say, are you at university? Yeah, how's your funding? Oh, well, it's a struggle. But now it is a struggle, I know that.
So I should say what I get from your talk, that that was your inspiration, that to help out the students for the Ivy League universities?
Basically,
Yeah.
to get to post-secondary education, but as we went on this journey, we found that the difference between going to a university and going to the finest in the world is very little, because undergrad degree 4 years is 4 years of the life of a person, of a young girl or a young boy.
Right.
Whether that person goes to university in Iceland or Australia or the United States or Pakistan or India or Europe, it's still 4 years.
Yeah.
And my philosophy is that if you're going to put in 4 valuable years of your life into education of your choice, then be the best at it. And when you want to be the best at it, go to the post-secondary institution that gives you your program with excellence.
True.
So, and the difference was very little. But I think, Salma, I think it's psychological. Basically, Akbar, what happens is when families are struggling, 2 income earners, sometimes working double shift. Our
Right.
children became latchkey children. They'd come in at lunchtime, eat on their own, come in the evening. Maybe one parent is there, one is not there. It was very difficult for parents to plan. And children are very perceptive. They would see that, I'm not going to afford post-secondary education. So I better stick to the post-secondary institution that is either free or the cheapest.
True.
Right.
So what happens? That child starts losing his or her morale.
That's true.
So
Yeah,
the marks become low.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
no
So
doubt.
when I meet students one-on-one, say in grade 11 or grade 12, what are your marks? It's 60%. I said, 60%? Why? Why so low? He said, well, I wasn't going anywhere. I mean, whether it's 60 or 50 or 80 or 90, we don't have the money. I said, if I put $1 million check on the table right now, where would you go? And
Yeah.
the student lights up. He says, I would go to Harvard. I said, I want to tell you something. Money is the least of your problems, because through this experience of about 30 years, I have never met a student who has been accepted in an Ivy League school and did not make it because of money.
Yeah.
What happens is that the community rallies around that student.
Right.
Salma,
Yeah.
you know that,
Yeah.
Allah Akbar, we just make a few phone
Yeah.
calls and say,
Yeah.
look, I've got a
Somebody,
kid here
yeah.
going to Harvard Medical School, short of money.
Yeah.
Now, some of these wealthy people, I mean, they want to.
Yeah.
They want
Yeah.
to help. And so they say, well, how much do you need? I said, well, just give me 5,000, I'll check
Just
with a
start,
few other
yeah,
people. Ivy League schools are expensive. They're $75,000
Dollars. Yeah.
Year.
on average.
Yeah.
Average.
Yeah.
Professional schools,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
could be a little more. Now, if I say that every student that I met got a full scholarship, it wouldn't be true.
True.
Many got half. Many got 25%. Some got 75%. But half of $75,000 is not small change. It's
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
But how do you get the other half? Now, a few years ago, when I was invited to speak in India, the Harvard president at that time and a student at Harvard sent me this pamphlet. The president of Harvard had decreed that any student on this planet who gets to Harvard and gets an admission and doesn't have the money, I will pay the full shot
Wow.
for that student, provided that student's parents' total income does not exceed 42,000 US a year. So if you go to some of the third world countries, poorer countries that we come from,
Yeah.
all of us,
Yeah.
find that that target is easy to reach.
Right.
And these students are absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
True.
So what is missing?
Financial.
basically motivation
Yes.
and inspiration.
Yeah, yeah.
To say, hey, you are brilliant.
Yeah.
You work hard. We will bring the money.
Just going to ask, say a student is very brilliant, right? And he doesn't have financial assistance. So how does that student get inspired? Is it the parents that have to help, or some other factors? So what happens in that case?
You know, Salma, the Aboriginal Native Indian saying goes that it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
I cannot raise my children all by myself. Me and my wife, we can't. You can't. You can't. We can't do it.
Right.
It takes the entire community.
That's
And
true.
I go to a certain group where they have scouts. And those scouts look around at the prayer house, at the prayer place, and they see little kids playing, dancing. Someone is doing movements like ballet. Someone is singing. And they'd go there and say, well, you know, where's your mom? Where's your dad? And they go to the parents and say, your child seems to be very good at dancing, very good at singing. Are you putting this child into a school, fine arts? And they say, no, give me a phone number, we'll arrange that for you. Now likewise, this is at a very early stage of development. But likewise, when we in the community see students, boys and girls, because your children are my children, my children are your children. And when one person in a society is weak, we all get weak. And we all need to be strong. So if we can identify these students, and this is how I meet students of all races, colors, and creeds, where somebody says, you know, I was at a gas station, and this fellow was pumping gas, and we started talking, and he said, you know, I couldn't go to university. Well, I gave him your name. He's going to give you a call. Any problem? I said, no, not at all. Not at all. Because in the final analysis, as the Christian motto goes, I am my brother's keeper.
That's
I am
very
my
true.
brother's
Very well
keeper.
said, yeah.
And we all need, no, you know, we all can do something in our humble capacities. We can help in some way, either to show them where to go for money, show them how to apply. And, you know, I find that one of the weakest points in the application process, where our young boys and girls of all, just about all races,
Okay.
colors and creeds, the weakest point is writing of essays.
Essays.
Some of the finest schools, Akbar, they require good writing skills.
Absolutely.
They need a statement of purpose. They need a mission statement. They will ask you a question. Now, when you consider that Harvard has 36,000 applicants for 1,800 spots, so for every 20 people that apply, only one gets
One can
in.
get in.
When, yeah.
And with certain Ivy League schools, for every 20 that apply, 17 get rejected right away,
Right.
3 get an interview, and of the 3, 1 gets in.
One gets.
But even getting to an interview stage is a matter of pride.
Yeah.
Students who don't make it, they've been for an interview, just didn't finally make it, I tell them, put it on your resume
Yeah.
for the next time around,
Yeah.
or the next university you apply to.
Yeah.
And there are $93 billion in scholarship funds in the United States,
Right.
and only 37%, Salma, have been applied for.
Yeah.
63%
Yeah.
people don't apply.
Don't apply.
No.
Well,
That's-
Ameer bhai, I'm going to take you back. That's 100 years or like in 200 years. Like, our forefathers. So when they were going to school, probably grade 1 or 2 or 3. Then, of course, when times moves up, going to grade 5 or 6, then moves up. Metric was like enough.
Yeah.
Then up to the university was enough. Degree was enough. Now you have to be kind of a specialist in one of the field. So being a parent, what do I do? Because like you said, $93 billion is available. Okay, I didn't know that. A lot of parents, they don't know that either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
So how do I motivate myself? No, I want to put my son, make sure he goes to the better school, because when he goes to university, there is a scholarship available.
Yes.
So what do I do being a parent from grade 5 or 6, starting from now? So then he's okay until he gets to the Met of, to the grade 10, 11, then he can apply to the Harvard or other universities.
Well, I think the many talks that I give, I speak in-house to private groups. They get neighbors and friends and family together, and I give talks there. And the one question I constantly get asked is, at what stage in the development of the child's scholastic life, student life, does that child now wake up and start
Yeah.
applying or making preparations for application? And I say the moment that baby takes the first bottle of milk is when we are, as parents,
Should start.
Wow.
bound to prepare their child for good, sound post-secondary education. Post-secondary education is expensive. My one-man voluntary independent service is basically to say that let us make free, universal post-secondary education a human right. It has to be a human right. And Jalal, on the point you made, when I first came to Canada and I started working in one of the oil companies, and everybody they was working with, high school diploma. And they told me, you have a high school diploma, you walk into a lovely job.
Yeah.
5, 6, 8 years later,
Yeah.
I saw the same oil companies recruiting students in the final year of their undergrad degree, paying for them to come in for an interview.
Wow.
And I said, what are we doing here? Is we can no longer live with high school diplomas.
True.
We need degreed people. And very soon thereafter, by 2005, 2006, 2008, you needed a master's degree.
True.
Now, is that student any smarter, any better? Maybe yes, maybe no. In our days, and in the days of our fathers and forefathers, experience taught you.
True.
Yeah.
But today, in a knowledge-based society, in the global economy, if you don't have knowledge in a knowledge-based society, you are not equipped.
You're not.
Yeah.
And as the population of the world is growing exponentially, we need to prepare our young boys and girls for the future. And the only future for them, post-secondary education. Go to the post-secondary institution of your choice.
Yeah.
People tell me, do you only need to go to the finest universities or to Ivy League schools? I said, no, I am telling you, the best is available. But if you want to do something in the trades or in the skills, and you want to go to a technology college, go. But whatever you do, be the best at what you want to
no
be.
doubt. Yeah.
And that is very, very vital for our children
Yeah.
and grandchildren. Parents ask me, how much do we save for our children's education? Now, post-secondary education costs are going up at the rate of between 15 and 18% a year. So you have a young child in grade 4, 5, 6. You may, in my estimation, be able to prepare fully for one child,
Yeah.
unless you're a very wealthy person.
Yeah.
But saving for one child is not going to be enough because you have 2 or 3 children. And they all will expect from us as parents to do equally for all of them.
Right.
True.
So I say the only salvation is scholarships. Now, different kinds of funding. There are bursaries, there are scholarships, there are fellowships, there are government loans, there are other loans, there are bank loans. But loans are loans. Scholarships are free. Bursaries are free. And there are certain timings on when we should apply for types of funding. There are automatic scholarships which universities give you upon application, you don't apply for that. When you apply to get into an undergrad degree, for instance, if you do early applications, University of Calgary, University of Alberta, and various other universities in Canada, in the summer between your grade 11 and grade 12, and if they give you admission, early application admission, they give you a scholarship of $3,000 right off the bat. Now, if you look at the cost of education in the United States, for us, non-citizens of the United States, you're looking at $75,000-$80,000 a year. When you look at a Canadian degree, you spend an average of $13,000 to $18,000 a year. So an entire degree would be less than $80,000. So what you spend 1 year at an Ivy League school, you spend 4 years in Canada. At the best in Canada. Having said that, I ask you, Salma, that Canada has about 17 medical schools. United States got over 300 medical schools. Where are our chances greater of getting into a medical school? Logically, reasonably, the answer is try Canada, but also apply in the United States.
Right.
Now, if you get into the United States, you need the money. The best and quickest form of money, government loans. You see, there are only 17 medical schools in Canada. I've known of many students who waited 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, haven't been able to get in. Now, there is this certain perception within the education public, and the parents particularly, that I can only get my child into a medical school in Canada only if I or my wife are in the medical profession. Now, could have been true, could have been false. But perceptions sometimes are reality. Now, with 17 schools and our population being 1/10 of the approximately of the United States.
Of the United States, yeah.
So the United States should have about 170 medical schools. But they've got over 300 medical schools. So I say our chances of getting into a medical school better in the United States than in Canada. Then again, it's a funding. Now, once you get our child into a good school, I say that funding is never a very serious problem. Yes, you can get into debt. Yes, you may have to sell some of your assets and kick off, jumpstart their education. Most university scholarships that you apply for, exchange programs, bursaries, grants, free money, only come, from my experience, from the second year onwards. A student has to go into a university, to fall in within the culture of that university, to get to know the students, to get to know the programs, to get to know your faculty, to get to know how to apply. And these are things that I find that most students of all communities find difficulty, is that the first year of university life after high school is the most traumatic.
That's
students who do, Salma, you must have seen that, students who do very well in our high schools here, you know, A's, go, and first year the GPA just drops. But the problem there is that we leave home for the first time. We miss our home cooked food. We miss particularly the direct, compassionate supervision of parents saying, why haven't you put in your assignment today? Why did you go late to school? At university, nobody asks you. Nobody cares. So for the first time, you have this wonderful, unbridled freedom and emancipation. You don't know how to handle it. Eventually you get to. But it is the most difficult, most traumatic time of a student's life is first year of university.
Absolutely.
You see, the GPA of a student in undergrad degree is cumulative.
Right.
So what happens is whatever damage gets done in the first year
Second.
difficulty to recoup.
Yeah.
So what happens is they have to work extra hard, and most students that I know, 99%, manage to recoup and get the GPA back on track.
Back on track.
Right.
So that's not difficult. But the money remains a constant problem. And as I mentioned, no student or very few students that I know have received absolutely full scholarships for 4 years. So that worry at the back of their minds, finance is always there.
Understood.
And I think one of the most brilliant things that universities did, particularly in Canada and the technical colleges, is brought in the co-op program,
Yeah. Co-op
which were
program.
5-year programs,
Yeah.
but it was one semester in, one semester go to work,
That's
so
right.
that does two things. It mitigates your financial problems, and secondly, it prepares you for the real world of employment
Yeah.
and gets employers to know you
True.
and get you to know employers. In most cases, in the co-op programs, students have been employed by the employers during the co-op program.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, if there are any other questions,
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that how I know your time is very precious, and what are the challenges you find in helping out students, like the way you do it? Like, what are your challenges in this?
Well, I meet students, I go to groups when they invite me, to their homes, to their community halls. Recently, I've been giving talks at a coffee shop.
Okay.
Maximum 50 people at Sam's Bistro.
Okay.
Maximum 50 people. So one donor pays for the coffee and the
nice.
cookies and all that. That person invites the people.
And they could be from any.
Both the last two that are given have had just about people of every color, race, and creed.
How nice.
Wow.
So.
Because they invite them. Now, in my case, when I'm meeting students who call me, I have to call them back, email them back. make the
Yeah,
time.
it's a lot of
3
work.
o'clock is no good, 4 o'clock is good. No. So, my biggest challenge,
Yes.
Salma, is I don't have an infrastructure that was ever given to me that has been the best has been the Ismaili Muslim community and their education board. I would say by and large have organized my program in the past to a very high degree.
Okay.
And that has been very, very enabling. I've spoken at church groups, I've spoken at various community groups, ethnic groups, and they have organized themselves where I did not have to get the student one-on-one or get the student to come to the function or to the event.
Okay.
So I do not have, I had no support, sustained support from any level of government, any level of institutional infrastructure of any community on a continuous past over 25-year period on a sustained basis. And that brings me to a subject that in the Economist 2 weeks ago, it says the biggest future profession is going to be the students who will work on and master the art of sustained management.
Wow.
So
Sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability.
sustainability.
Yeah.
So I don't have any of that. But, by the grace of Allah, I manage to see many students by word of mouth. People phone me and immediately I respond. Some people fall through the cracks.
Wow.
But there are about 5 or 6 times a year that I'm invited overseas.
Wow.
And also I go to Boston because my son lives there. So I'm in and out of town. But whenever I am in town, I make it my first duty, a priority to see students who are eager
Yes, that's
And
amazing.
That is the
Yeah.
important thing.
and passionate
Yeah.
to go to university.
Yeah.
And look, this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is not, it's not rocket science. I'll just show you the plan of action that I have here. that I give to every student. Very simple. Prepare a powerful resume.
Yeah.
Simple. Maintain high marks. Write the SAT 1 and 2. American universities need the SAT.
Right.
Right.
Canadian universities don't. American universities, Ivy League, need 2 or 3 high-powered essays. Well-written essays.
Right.
And I've written hundreds of essays for students.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Just alhamdulillah, as a gift, as a gift. I love writing, so it's nothing. But I'm saying that where there are weaknesses in students in our communities, we have got to hold their hands
Right.
and tell them, look, you brought good marks. You've done wonderful voluntary service.
Right.
You have wonderful extracurricular activities. You have cultivated recommenders.
Yeah.
MPs, student councillors, the principal, your math teacher, your science teacher,
Right.
and leaders in the community,
Community, yeah.
MPs or MLAs. We've got all that. We just need to package it together. That's all they need.
That's where I think the students are lacking. Yeah, like people like you.
Yeah, that's where he
Yeah.
comes in action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Comes in picture. Oh,
That's what we
yeah,
need.
we need people like you.
Jalal, as I have always said that when I go to a group setting, I have a PowerPoint presentation. I've got 8 or 9 PowerPoint presentations, one for the undergrad level, one for the master's level, one for PhD level, one for the fellowships of students, doctors, lawyers who want to do an advanced study for a year. Now, places like Ivy League schools, adults don't know this.
Yeah.
People in the industry and society don't know this, that you can go to these schools, the finest schools, Chicago, Harvard, Pennsylvania, you can go to these universities for a 6-week program. And that will hone in your skills, your expertise in your own field of activity. 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, I spoke in Dubai in February for the whole month. I was in Dubai giving talks at the Ismaili Center in Dubai and meeting students. And I met people who were retired. They brought their children to me. And while we were talking, I said, you should go and do an MBA. They said, no, I don't have the time. I'm retired. I'm having fun. I said, go and do a 6-week program at Harvard.
Yeah.
6 weeks. That's all it is. Now the paradigm of education has changed. Some universities have woken up to the need of people in a world, on a planet whose population is growing exponentially.
Right.
People can no longer afford to leave their work, their job, their profession. I know of doctors who've gone back to do an MBA
Right.
to hone in on the management skills. Now, Dr. Jadavi, professor at the medical school in Calgary, he will tell you that the paradigm of education has to change.
True.
And I see the biggest problem of the future is that with budgets, budgets of all 3 levels of governments in all countries falling short. I think the only activity, the only aspect of human activity that will suffer the most would be education. Excuse me. And when I see that, I can see a greater burden of post-secondary education falling on communities, specifically faith-based communities.
Right.
Because all universities are not fine.
Yeah.
Because when some of the greatest people say that we must see that our young boys and girls go to the finest universities in the world, there is a presupposition that all universities are not fine. And we know that sometimes in most of our provinces and the states in the United States, public education is not that good.
Yeah.
We're just putting in time.
Yeah.
We're just sending our children to school, but they don't get that quality of education. And as time goes on, the more marginalized our societies become, the more elitist post-secondary education will become.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have 2 minutes, but I'll, just ask you one of the question, because I know, more parents are wondering. As you said, sometimes you get 50% of your scholarship, or 25%, or 75%. So what about the rest? Is this possible they can have from other sources?
Absolutely. You see, there are $93 billion in scholarship trust funds, and only 37% ever been applied for. 63% reverts to government, because this is one of the scholarship institutions are civil society at its best. And you find that the trust funds that give scholarships also to a great degree control what the future education of society will be. They in fact become the gatekeepers of future education and knowledge. And I say to you that in a knowledge-based society, it doesn't take the brains of Lloyd George to tell us knowledge is the main ingredient. Let us give our children the finest post-secondary education at the finest institutions in the world,
if they can,
on a need-blind basis. It has to be absolutely need-blind. And when you have $93 billion in scholarship trust funds, it's a matter of applying. And I meet, I would say, between 25 and 30 students a week and ask them, you're going to apply for this scholarship? No, that's not meant for me, that's meant for Akbar. And I said, he said, no, that's meant for Jalal. I said, what? I mean, it just takes dollar stamp, $6 stamp. Apply. The worst that can happen is they'll say no.
No, that's it. Yeah.
But that fear
is there.
is
You
inbred.
got it. Yes.
And that we've got to teach our children to be confident,
Yeah.
to aim for the finest post-secondary institutions in the world
Yeah.
on a need-blind basis.
That's true.
Wow.
And if the president of Harvard some years ago could have said, I will take any student on a need-blind basis, provided that student's family income does not exceed $40,000 US or its equivalent anywhere in the world.
Wow.
I think that's a
What a
wonderful
beautiful.
Akbar.
We
That's-
got such beautiful information and enlightening information from.
No, I think it's going to open a lot of eyes for all the
I
parents.
hope our
Absolutely.
viewers get a
Yes.
lot out of what he has told us. And just the last thing, if for our viewers, if they have heard you and seen you, and so if any one of them wants to approach you, how do
my email is on these pamphlets. It's keshavjee@gmail.com.
Okay.
And please contact me anytime. I see students of all races, colors, and creeds.
Wow.
Wow.
Mashallah.
That's-
Alhamdulillah, we've been giving talks at various parts of the world.
It was a beautiful, very
Oh,
enlightening,
amazing.
and thank you so much. It has opened, I hope lots of students have gotten
Absolutely.
something out of it, and
I mean,
it was great.
मैं व्यूअर्स का तो कह सकता हूँ कि वो डेफिनेटली सुन रहे होंगे, और स्पेशली स्टूडेंट्स, लेकिन हम तीनों जितने गौर से सुन रहे थे, that was amazing, sir. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
coming to the
much.
show.
Pleasure.
Inshallah, we'll actually bring you again.
Inshallah.
And one of our program, and plus on our radio show as well. Inshallah, in the near future.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
दोस्तों, उम्मीद करते हैं कि आपको ये प्रोग्राम आज का बहुत पसंद आया होगा। ये प्रोग्राम जब नेक्स्ट वीक आप देख रहे होंगे, जब उस वक्त करीब में 2 बड़े इवेंट आने वाले हैं। एक तो 12 रबीउल अव्वल, जो कि हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की विलादत है। तमाम मुस्लिम उम्मा के लिए ये एक बहुत बाबरकत दिन है, तो हम अपने तमाम मुस्लिम ब्रदर और सिस्टर्स को मुबारकी देते हैं, और साथ ही साथ हमारे इस्माइली बहन भाइयों के लिए भी एक दिन, उसके बाद वाला ही दिन इस्माइली मुस्लिम्स के लिए बहुत अहमियत का हामिल है, जो कि 13 दिसंबर का दिन है, जो कि स्पेशल इस वजह से है कि उस दिन हमारे हाज़िर इमाम की 80th बर्थडे है। तो हम अपने तमाम इस्माइली बहन भाइयों को भी सालगिरह मुबारक कहते हैं, और उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप दोनों दिनों को बड़े अच्छे तरीके से अपनी फैमिलीज़ के साथ सेलिब्रेट करेंगे। तो इंशाल्लाह अगली मर्तबा फिर मुलाकात होगी। खुदा हाफिज़।
खुदा हाफिज़।
अल्लाह हाफिज़।